The sun was merciless that afternoon, a white-hot eye staring down at the endless desert as a struggling single father trudged along a cracked highway with an empty water bottle in his hand, when he saw a shape collapse into the sand ahead of him, and in that moment, between heat and silence, two broken lives were about to collide in a way neither of them could have imagined. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and small acts that change destinies, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to channel name to support stories that remind us what humanity still looks like. The man's name was Adam, though few people ever asked anymore. Life had reduced him to roles rather than names: single dad, laborer, survivor. His shoes were worn thin, the soles peeling back like tired lips, and the sun had burned his neck a permanent shade darker than the rest of him. He had lost his job 2 months earlier when the construction company shut down overnight, and since then, every day had been a calculation between hunger and hope. He had left his small rental room before dawn to walk toward a distant fuel station where rumors said temporary work might be available. He needed money not for dreams or ambition, but for his 6-year-old son waiting back home with a babysitter he could barely afford, a boy whose smile hid how often he went to bed without asking for more food. Adam was halfway across the stretch of desert road when he noticed the figure lying in the sand. At first, he thought it was debris, maybe a torn tarp or an abandoned bag, but something about the way it didn't belong pulled him closer. Each step felt heavier as the heat wrapped around him like a suffocating blanket. When he reached the figure, his heart dropped. A woman lay on her side, her clothes dusty and torn by thorns, her hands curled protectively around her swollen belly. She was pregnant, heavily so, and her breathing was shallow and uneven, like the last flickers of a dying flame. Adam's instinct screamed at him to help, but reality punched back just as hard. His water bottle was nearly empty. Just a few mouthfuls remained, saved carefully for the walk back. He was already dizzy from dehydration, his legs trembling from exhaustion. Giving her water meant risking collapse himself. It meant risking not making it back to his son. The desert did not forgive hesitation, and it punished generosity without mercy. Yet as Adam knelt beside her, he saw her face more clearly. She was young, though hardship had aged her eyes. Her lips were cracked, her skin pale beneath the dust, and there was a quiet dignity in the way she clung to her belly even in unconsciousness. Something inside Adam shifted, a memory surfacing of nights he had held his own child during fever, whispering promises he didn't know how to keep. He thought of what it meant to be alone in the world, of how silence could be louder than hunger. Without allowing himself more time to think, Adam tilted the bottle and let the water drip slowly onto her lips. He rationed it carefully, drop by drop, watching as her throat moved weakly, then more steadily. He used the last of it to wet her face and hands, shielding her from the sun with his own body, his back burning as the minutes crawled by. He tore a piece from his shirt to fan her gently, fighting the dizziness creeping into his vision. The woman stirred, her eyelids fluttering as if waking from a long nightmare. Awareness returned slowly, confusion etched across her face before fear took hold. She tried to sit up, panic surging, but Adam gently pressed his hand into the sand beside her, grounding her. He stayed silent, letting calm speak through stillness. Eventually, her breathing slowed, and she looked at him as if seeing a lifeline rise from the desert itself. Her name was Sarah. She was a widow, 6 months pregnant, and she had been walking for 2 days after her ride abandoned her miles from the nearest town. Her husband had died in an accident months earlier, leaving her with grief, debt, and a child yet to be born. She had sold what little she owned to pay for travel to a relative who promised help, but the promise dissolved when the money ran out. By the time she collapsed, hope had thinned to a thread. Adam listened as she rested, piecing together her story from the fragments she shared when strength allowed. He told her little of himself, but she noticed the way his eyes drifted toward the horizon, the worry etched into every line of his face. When she learned he was a father too, something softened between them, a shared understanding that words could not fully carry. Getting Sarah out of the desert was not easy. Adam supported her as they walked slowly toward the road, waving weakly at passing vehicles. Hours stretched painfully until a truck finally stopped, its driver alarmed by the sight of a pregnant woman barely standing and a man nearly collapsing beside her. They were taken to the nearest clinic, where doctors scolded and praised Adam in equal measure, telling him that without water when he gave it, Sarah and her unborn child might not have survived. Adam left the clinic quietly after ensuring Sarah was safe, his clothes stiff with dried sweat, his stomach empty, his mind racing with worry about his son. He walked home that night under a sky exploding with stars, unsure if he had done the right thing, unsure how he would face tomorrow. Kindness did not pay rent. It did not refill empty cupboards. It did not guarantee survival. Days passed. Adam returned to odd jobs, scraping together coins, life resuming its familiar grind. Then one afternoon, a knock came at his door. Sarah stood there, healthier now, her belly round and full of life, gratitude shining in her eyes. She had found temporary shelter through a local charity connected to the clinic, and when she spoke of Adam, of what he had done, people listened. Help came in small waves at first. A grocery voucher, a job referral, a donated stroller that Adam passed on to Sarah with a smile. The job referral turned into steady work. The grocery voucher meant Adam's son ate until he was full and then some. And the stroller became a symbol of something neither of them had expected to find in the desert: community. Adam and Sarah's lives began to intersect naturally, not in grand gestures, but in shared meals, rides to appointments, and long evenings talking about fears and dreams once they were brave enough to name. When Sarah went into labor months later, Adam waited outside the hospital room with his son asleep against his chest, remembering the day he had found her in the sand, remembering how close everything had come to ending before it truly began. When the baby's cry finally echoed down the hallway, Adam felt tears he hadn't allowed himself in years spill freely. Life, he realized, was fragile, but it was also stubborn. It fought to exist even in the harshest places. Years later, Adam would sometimes drive past that stretch of desert, the memory still vivid. He would think about the choice he made with an almost empty bottle of water, and how that choice had returned to him multiplied in ways he could never have planned. He was no longer just surviving. He was building something. His son was thriving. Sarah and her child were part of his life in ways that felt earned, slow, and deeply human. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that small kindnesses can ripple outward into entire lives changed, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to channel name so we can keep telling stories that matter. And before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with one word that represents hope to you today. In a world that often tells us to look away, Adam chose to look closer. In a desert that offered nothing but heat and silence, he gave water, and in return, life gave him hope.